Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Headset, your weekly home for sports and other nonsense. I am Nathan Buckley, once again joined by twin brother and partner in crime, Brant Buckley. Brant, another wonderful week. How about it?
It is. It's another wonderful week. It's been a beautiful weather week this week. So it's been a great week to be attending a golf camp or helping put on a golf camp. So it's been a fun week. And now we get to wrap it up with recording this podcast.
Absolutely. I know you've been working with the Pewamo Westphalia Golf. They're having that camp there. How's that been?
It was good. Today was the last day of the competition. Had a drive, chip, and putt competition for the 5th through 8th graders that showed up. We had 28 kids, and we had some pretty long drives, some good putts, and really nice chips, and got dinner with it afterwards. So it was a very fun day.
All right, Brant, so we're going to roll right into segment one. As always, we start with Penny for your thoughts. We start with the non-sport content. You start, then I will follow that up, and then we'll go into a sport topic. Brant, go ahead, non-sport. Penny for your thoughts.
All right. Last week, to start things off, I did 3 facts. So I was thinking this week, all right, how do I change it up a little bit? This week, we're going to do 3 food for thought topics. Basically, 3 things that make you think a little bit. The first one is why the word that defines a fear of long words, or the word for a fear of long words, is 36 letters long. Any idea on what that word is, Nathan?
I have not even a clue.
I have been preparing myself for this moment. Hippopotamonstrosis squiptaliaphobia. 36 letters long.
I heard 2 things in there, Brant. I heard hippopotamus and I heard Cool Whip.
Yep. Hippopotamonstrosis squiptaliaphobia.
That
seems a little weird, doesn't it? That's the word for a fear of long words.
When the doctor reads that one off to the patient, it's they're probably going to be a little startled for a few minutes. That's an interesting one there.
Yes, it is. The next one I have is, what do you think the best thing before sliced bread was?
That's a good question.
Everyone uses the term best thing since sliced bread. Well, what about before sliced bread? Like, what was the baseline before that? And then the last thing is, if you try to fail and you do fail, do you fail or do you succeed? I mean, think about it. If you're trying to fail and you do fail, then you succeed to fail. So you're actually succeeding, but in all realness, you're failing.
Brant, I do not know where you got these, but all I have to say is I think you got the brains that God intended for geese.
I would say so too, Nathan. I do have one more for you, though.
Okay.
Just to kind of bring this full circle. Why is this called Penny for your thoughts if we're putting in our 2 cents?
My point exactly about the brains and the geese there, Brant. Thank you for those food for your thoughts. In case you needed anything else to get you through this nonsense that we're about to bring you, called the Beyond the Headset podcast. Thank you, Brant. My non-sport topic actually has to do a little bit with sports, but kind of a different thing. We're approaching MIS race weekend. And again, we're, me, you, and a couple buddies, we're planning on going down there on Sunday. I'm hoping to work media on Saturday. We have a lot of good memories down there. I know Faster Horse was just down there a couple weeks ago. I hope everyone who went down to that made it back successfully and hopefully had a few beers if they are of age. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to making more great memories down there in a couple weeks here, and a little earlier than normal, like I said, kind of almost butting right up to Faster Horses, but a lot of great memories down there. We're looking to build some more, aren't we, Brant?
Yeah, campgrounds open up on Sunday, so just a few days away, and we remember what it was like to camp down there, and hope to get down there again someday to camp down there. But for now, we're just going down there for the weekend.
Absolutely. Brant, we're going to move into the sports topic. Penny for your thoughts. What you got on your mind?
All right. I originally had something else planned for my sports one, but I heard a rumor today that I kind of wanted to talk about. It's not very well known. It just kind of came out today, Thursday afternoon. And that rumor is that there are plans for Detroit to build a new baseball stadium. It seems weird with Comerica Park just having opened up, like what, 2004 at the latest?
It was either 2000 or 2001 because I do believe the last game in Tiger Stadium was just before our birthday of 2000. So our actual birthday, I believe. Don't quote me on that.
Right. Well, not very long ago. So it seems weird that Detroit wants to build a new baseball stadium. Now, they haven't said where it's going to be. Like I said, it just came out this afternoon, but they kind of want to keep it undercover and disclosed, I guess, because I guess if they're worried that if the Tigers find out, they'll want to come play there and they'll ruin all the fun.
Well, then, if that's the case, they want to keep it undercover, then someone's not doing their job, are they?
And in case you haven't picked up yet, this is complete nonsense. I read this joke online a few days ago. Basically, they're just making a joke about if Detroit plans to build a new baseball stadium, why would they want the Tigers to find out? They'll just come in and start losing. So that's not actually true. That was just something I saw earlier this week and thought I'd bring into the podcast.
As in case my head wasn't hurting enough, Brant, thank you very much for throwing more confusing thoughts my way. I'm going to move on with my sports topic, and I'm going to stick with baseball here. The Subway Series going on in New York. Mets hosting the New York Yankees. I know Gus Ramsey, my program director at Full Sail University, he's got a lot of interest in this as a big Mets fan. Mets took game 1 in a walk-off last night. I'm interested to see game 2. I believe it's only a 2-game series, but hey, it's been pretty entertaining in the 1 game so far. And 2 of the best teams in baseball right now, 2 of the best teams in the American League. It's bound to be a good show.
If you are a golf fan out there, I'm sure that you have well heard about the news by now about the LIV tour that was started about a couple months ago, and it's been pulling some of the bigger name tour players off of the PGA. In case you are unaware of what the LIV is, let me run it down for you a little bit. It is a $2 billion Saudi Arabian funded golf tour. The funding is taken right out of the Saudis' public investment fund. And this concerns a lot of people due to the civil rights issues going on in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East. Now, let's keep in mind here, this tour will be an international tour. It will mostly consist in the United States, but it will go over to Europe in times like the PGA does. Now, it's already drawn a lot of big names from the PGA to jump boat over to the LIV, such as Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, and Phil Mickelson. And they are big contracts too. DeChambeau's is $125 million. Both Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka are at $150 million. And Phil Mickelson's is a pretty penny. It's $200 million. So these guys are being paid big contracts out of this $2 billion fund that the LIV tour has. And this is just to get them to join the tour. This is before they even take into consideration anything of prize money, of future salaries. This is just to get them on the tour. Nate, I want to ask you what kind of your thoughts are of the LIV.
I think it's pretty early to tell if it's going to work out or not. So far, they've gotten some big names to flip, as you mentioned. Names that, they have a big fan base that follow them. Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau, those guys are 2 pretty popular guys. Just if you're naming just those 2 in the PGA, maybe to get people to at least turn it on to see what it's about. And really, it's golf. It can't be that much different than the PGA. I know they have a different scoring system, but overall, how much more different can it be?
It's really not. Besides, there are no cuts and it's only a 3-day weekend. It's really not all that different from the PGA. But what I view it as is it's comparing it a lot to the USFL compared to the PGA of like it's kind of a break-off series, except there are some bigger names that have gone to the LIV as compared to big football names jumping ship from the NFL to the USFL. Now, personally, I think it's likely to be more successful than the USFL. I think it's still likely to fail. It's due to fail in a sense. For current golf fans, I think it's going to fail. I just think that current golf fans are going to prefer the PGA. But the point of getting this LIV golf tour going was to draw in people who are usually not golf fans and to get them to like golf, get them to watch golf. So I think that will be a success. And that was the point of the tour. So I think in its own ways, it will be successful.
Brant, I think it will have some success. I think both the USFL and the LIV Golf are kind of too early to tell the success rate. Obviously, I've been to a USFL game when I was down visiting Talladega. And again, I always joke around buying a $10 ticket and getting a $12 beer. There was some decent crowd there. And I think it'll grow more in terms of the USFL. But just keeping on the topic of LIV Golf for the podcast purpose, we haven't really seen it come to much American cities. So it's going to be hard to tell how much draw out they get. In terms of TV ratings, I think it's going to belong to the PGA for quite a while, but there's no denying that for professional golf, the majors draw the most attention. Well, you got the Rocket Mortgage Classic, which is going on in Detroit this weekend. That is a big local, quite a few people turn that on here just because it's down in Detroit. So until really the LIV Golf comes to some of these local cities and play on a golf course near you, it's going to be hard to tell what success it's going to have. As the NFL season approaches, Brant and I are here to break down division by division, team by team. Well, sort of. The AFC, who will finish worst? Who will finish first? Brant, we're going to start with the mighty AFC North. Who you got winning that division this year?
Let me start by saying this is a stacked division. I mean, consisting of the Bengals, the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Browns. This is a division that can really be up in the air, but I think that there's going to be one team that's going to run away with it. And I think it's no question to everyone who it's going to be. It's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Joey Burrow is back. He's confident. They are going to be determined to get back to the Super Bowl, and they're going to be serious contenders this year. They had a good draft. They picked up Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt on the defensive side. That really adds depth to a secondary that was kind of spotty at times with Eli Apple. I mean, everyone knows basically everyone's opinion on Eli Apple. He's pretty spotty cornerback, but that really adds some depth to a defensive secondary that if they had a solid secondary, they would be for sure Super Bowl, maybe even front runners.
Brant, I agree with you. I wrote down Cincinnati as well, but that is for one reason only. I think the Baltimore Ravens have a great chance winning that division. They just have to stay healthy. They couldn't keep a healthy running back on their roster last year. That hurt them. Lamar Jackson, incredible quarterback. But if you don't have a solid running back behind you, you cannot do much. If J.K. Dobbins, I believe, is going to be their starting running back this year, if he can stay healthy, look out for Baltimore. Brant, who you got finishing last in that division?
I think last place is going to be highly dependent on the decision on Deshaun Watson. If Watson plays, not very likely, as everyone knows, it's going to be Pittsburgh Steelers finishing last. I like Kenny Pickett. He'll have a decent year, but he's not going to have a great year. He's got no mentor. He's in his first year with no mentor. His backups are Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph, so really no one to back him up much. I think he'll be the starter, but he's not going to have a great year. I think Najee Harris will lead their division in rushing. I just don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball well, and you need to do both to really be a contender. And they won't really be terrible. They just won't compete with a solid division. Now, if Watson doesn't play, I think it's going to be the Cleveland Browns. All they have is Jacoby Brissett for quarterback. And in a strong division, Brissett just won't compete. They do have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones for receivers with Chubb and Hunt as running backs. But without a great QB, rushing really does you no good. I think the defense will be fine with Garrett and Clowney, but I just don't think if Watson doesn't play, which is what it's looking like right now, I just don't think the Browns are going to be able to compete with a really strong division.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm writing down Cleveland too, just because I believe wholeheartedly right now that Deshaun Watson will not play. But I agree with you. If Deshaun Watson does end up playing, bearing in my mind, a miracle if Deshaun Watson plays, I think it's going to be Pittsburgh. But as of right now, I'm saying Deshaun Watson is a no play, and the Browns are last place. All right, Brent, we move to your stomping grounds, the AFC South. Do I even need to ask you who's going to win this?
Of course, it's going to be the Houston Texans. Houston Texans are going to win the AFC. No, of course, it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think there is any doubt in my head that the Colts are going to win the division this year. I'm confident in it. I think the Titans will compete with them, but I think it's going to be the Colts representing the AFC South. Jonathan Taylor, he's due for another fantastic year. He's probably going to be the top fantasy picks all the way around. Michael Pittman is going to be the best receiver in the AFC South. Not like that's saying much, but still. Matt Ryan, that's going to be the biggest question here. He might not be the greatest quarterback, but he's going to fit the position well. He's an experienced player. He's got an accurate arm most of the time, and he compares to Philip Rivers. And Philip Rivers had the Colts rolling after a slow start in 2020, led them to the playoffs before they lost to the Bills. Like I said, the Titans will compete. They are likely to have a wild card spot, but the Colts' only kryptonite is going to be Jacksonville on the road. They haven't beat Jacksonville on the road in 3 seasons. They've got to win the games that they're supposed to win.
I'm going to go with Tennessee. Mostly because I just kind of want to hear your reaction on this. I think it's going to be a good battle between Tennessee and Indianapolis. You did kind of persuade me with the Jonathan Taylor speech. I think if Derrick Henry stays healthy, I think Tennessee squeezes it out in that division. We're going to move on to the worst sprint. Who do you think is finishing last? Going to be a battle between Jacksonville and Houston. Who do you think is finishing last?
I think Houston's going to win this battle for last place. I mean, they have nobody. I mean, they have Brandon Cooks, but they have nobody to throw him to. They have Derek Stingley Jr., just drafted him, but he has to adapt to the NFL. Houston, they're going to win 4 games if they're lucky. And one of them is likely to come to Indy because why not? But they're not going to compete in this division.
I think it's going to be Houston. I think they're going to finish last, mostly because Travis Etienne is going to be back for Jacksonville. I don't think he's going to be a huge difference maker, but I do think with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, the old Clemson teammates, I believe they're going to have better chemistry between them two. And I think they're going to at least beat out Houston this year. So I think it's going to be Tennessee winning the South and Houston finishing last. We're going to move on to the East, Brant. Again, very strong division with a very solid set front runner. Who do you think that is?
Buffalo. There's no question in that. I think the Buffalo Bills will win this division. Josh Allen is just too good. They have too many weapons on their team on both sides of the ball. They're going to be serious Super Bowl contenders. That's all I need to say.
I agree with you in both sense of those terms. I think Buffalo not only wins the division, not only wins the number 1 seed in the AFC, I think they might go on to win a Super Bowl. They're going to be mad about what happened in Kansas City last year. They're going to be very strong. And I think at the very least, they end up winning their division. Who is the bottom runner in that division, Brant?
Again, is it any question? It's the Jets. There's just no question about this. Zach Wilson was a good pickup when they picked him, but he hasn't lived up to the hype. His backups are Mike White and Joe Flacco, a very experienced Joe Flacco, but one who just can't go out there and dominate the way that he used to. Who else do they have? I tried to look it up. They literally have nobody. Their best player is their center, according to their rankings. And it's not even that good. He's a 70 rating. The Jets are just, they're going to be a top 5 pick again next year. No question.
I came into this podcast, Brant, thinking that I was going to go Dolphins all the way. But then I really got to thinking about it. I'm like, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be an improved quarterback. Maybe off a skill, maybe off the fact that he has Cheetah down there now with Tyreek Hill. And I think you're right. The Jets, they just have absolutely no one except for Zach Wilson on their team. Zach Wilson, he's going to be a heck of a quarterback, but he's probably in the next 5 years, he should get traded from the Jets because they're just not going to have anything to do with him. Real quick, Brent, we're going to move on to arguably the best division in all of NFL, the AFC West. Who we got winning it?
This one I feel like we're going to disagree on. I'm going with the Chargers. Justin Herbert, he's due for another breakout year. Austin Eckler will be very efficient. And on defense, when you have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, this is a division where you're going to need to disrupt the passing game. And you need to lock in on the running game. Because if you, for a second, let either one of those go, especially the passing game, it's going to be a rough game for you because this division is quarterback stacked. I think the Chargers are going to be efficient both on defense and they're going to have an explosive offense, and Justin Herbert will lead the Chargers to an AFC West title this year.
I'm going with the LA Chargers too. To beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Heck yes. Justin Herbert is set for another great season. Just like you said, Austin Eckler, he's ready to go off. They improved their defense. They should have made the playoffs last year. Their coaching kind of screwed them out of that one, but hey, they're ready. They're ready to come back. They're going to win that division over the Chiefs. Brant, worst. Who you got?
I'm going with the Denver Broncos, and this is surprising because Wilson is going to be bringing a lot to that team, and they have Jerry Jeudy, they have Cortland Sutton, and I think Pat Surtain is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year. But the problem is they do not have any pressure that can add to the opposing QBs. Nobody who can for sure get into the backfield and mess with the heads of those other three division quarterbacks. And that's going to make the difference between first and last in this division. It is time once again for this week's highlights and lowlights. We are each picking one great moment in sport this week and one not so great moment in sports this week. Nathan, what is your highlight for the week?
Oh, Brent, my highlight, I actually believe this happened last week, but I'm going to bring it up this week. They had the prospect game before the All-Star game last week, and St. Louis Cardinals prospect Mason Wynn threw a 100-mile-per-hour throw from shortstop to first base. It's pretty impressive, and I'm not going to lie, the first baseman probably, after catching that, it's like, holy cow, that hurt. Probably bruised his hand, but 100 mile per hour across the bases to get the out. It was pretty impressive.
I saw that throw, Nate. It was very impressive. My highlight for the week is going to be this weekend at the 3M Open. Tony Finau, a putt, if you would consider it that. He used the toe of his putter from the rough just off the green. It's probably like 2 yards off the green, and he sunk the putt. He used the toe of it to give it a little bit more juice, and he sunk the putt and went on to win the tournament. This was on Saturday. He was like 8 strokes back. He went on to win the tournament. I just think that was a very impressive play from him this week. Nate, what you got for a low light?
This one, actually, this low light just happened 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes before we aired this show on Thursday evening. NASCAR going down to Indianapolis for the road course this weekend. I have received word from Bob Pockrass that William Byron's hauler, the generator, has gone up in flames. They were able to get the car out all right. The hauler's mostly okay, but old Bobby there, he posted some pictures and a video on his Twitter, and it burnt the crap out of that generator.
I'm sure they'll be able to get something figured out, even if they have to use a couple things from some of their teammates there. My low light for the week comes late last week. Marlins shortstop Miguel Rojas got his front tooth knocked out by O'Neal Cruz on a slide into second on a steal attempt. So what happened was when Cruz popped up from sliding into the bag, he caught Rojas right in the grill and his left front tooth got completely knocked out. Rojas left the game. He returned the next day. And I'm just going to say, for his sake, I hope the next day was not team picture day, or else that's going to be one that they're going to laugh at for a long time in the Miami Marlins organization.
He's going to start looking like Tyler Bertuzzi there with the Detroit Red Wings. He might find himself, just for the look's sake, on the Florida Panthers team.
No kidding. For the last segment on this week's show, we will once again be going back to the racetrack for NASCAR news. This one, if you follow the sport, is one that was jaw-dropping, one that is unprecedented by NASCAR, really. For those of you who don't know, after each race, NASCAR takes the top 3 finishing cars and 2 randomly drawn cars for a full teardown inspection post-race. The top 3 cars from this weekend at Pocono were Denny Hamlin in the 11, Kyle Busch in the 18, and Chase Elliott in the 9. They also select, as I mentioned, the 2 cars at random, and those were the 43 of Eric Jones, who finished 11th place, and Brad Keselowski in the 6, who finished 16th. Now let's take a look at this timeline. It's kind of funny. At 6:22 p.m., a little before 6:30, Denny Hamlin took the checkered flag at Pocono. Busch finished 2nd, Elliott finished 3rd. At 7:03, the cars were taken into the NASCAR tent for further inspection. And about 2 hours after the race, at 8:20, NASCAR Managing Director Brad Moran addressed the media, announcing that they were disqualifying the 11 and the 18 cars, P1 and 2, from the race, and that the 9 car was announced as the official winner. And what it was that the 11 car and the 18 car were found to have a piece of tape that was holding down the, Nathan, you're going to have to say this word for me because I never say it right and you pick on me for it. Fascia, thank you. So they had a piece of tape on either corners of the fascia, and that's on the nose of their car underneath the wrapping, and it made their cars more aerodynamic. All the other cars cleared the inspection. Now, it doesn't seem like much. A clear piece of tape does not seem like much, but those cars are so aerodynamically tuned that just a little bit can make a big difference. So by rule, the cars that failed inspection and were disqualified were put at the bottom of the finishing order based on the order in which they finished. So the 11 moved to 35th, the 18 finished dead last in 36th. Nathan, I broke this news to you Sunday evening, and you were pretty shocked. What was your first reaction based on that, and how has that changed since then?
Well, first of all, Brad, I'm pretty shocked that you beat me to the ball, because usually I'm right on top of that kind of thing with my NASCAR media site, but wasn't quite on it. And you came up and broke the news to me. Yeah, I'm like, what? Not only was the first place car, but the second place car disqualified. They haven't revoked a win like that since 1960. Now, we've had a couple cases, one including Denny Hamlin back at Darlington a couple years ago, to where they have taken away the points and a couple other features of the win, but ultimately they keep the win. That happened to Joey Logano at Richmond a couple years back. Same season, happened to Denny Hamlin in the Southern 500. But to actually take the win away, that NASCAR announced at the beginning of the season, we are taking stricter penalties for this kind of thing. We do not want anyone changing any of the aspects of this new car without our permission. And they just swung the hammer down on those 2 cars and said, nope, you're not doing that. Even if it's a little piece of tape, doesn't sound like much again, but you're not doing that. You're not doing that to our cars without our approval. We saw something earlier this year with Team Penske. Joey Logano and Austin Cindric, I believe it was, may have gotten it's Brad Keselowski with RFK and Joey Logano with Team Penske. They were modifying something with the wheels. Kind of surprised NASCAR didn't swing the hammer down on them even harder, but that was kind of right off the get-go saying we're going to take stricter means of penalties for this kind of thing.
There are a lot more implications to that than just losing the race. I mean, sure, that sucks, but anyone who follows NASCAR knows that there's more points involved than just finishing position. There's stage points, playoff points, and finishing points. And for those guys, they swept the stages. They finished in the top 5, each one of them, in the first 2 segments. And they finished 1-2 in the race, obviously. So they got a ton of points for that. Playoff points, stage points, gone. The only points that those 2 got was 2 points for the 35th place finish and 1 point for the 36th place finish. Now, looking at how this was handled, let's just take a look first. I guess let's take a look first to see, do you think the other JGR cars have had the same issue and they just weren't looked at?
It's hard to say, Brand. Honestly, they didn't take a look at them. It's hard to say.
And do you think NASCAR did the right thing in this case?
In terms of revoking the win?
Yes.
Absolutely. They're
entitled.
They made it.
They are.
Exactly. They made a point at the beginning of the year that they were going to be stricter on these penalties. And here you go. This is about the strictest penalty that you can get in the sport. For a little piece of tape, however way you see it, it was a clear violation of the rules and thus must be treated as, okay, you intentionally cheated and got the win. So we're going to revoke that from you.
It cracked me up to see social media after that. A lot of the comments on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook of people saying they can't do this. What makes them think they can do this? Well, they can do it. It's written right in the NASCAR rules that if a winning car, if any car in the field is found to have any sort of aerodynamic advantage that was not approved by NASCAR, they can have their position revoked from them, whether that's 30th or whether that's first.
There's a video that surfaced on social media, and it's Chris Gabehart right after the race. Obviously, there was that issue with Ross Chastain, which we talked about last week. Perfect timing for that. And someone asked him, what are your thoughts on Ross? He goes, who? What? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. So I was joking around when I saw that video. I'm like, what? A win? I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I saw that same video too. It was kind of funny. Kind of the irony is kind of funny, knowing what was to come.
Denny Hamlin, whether it's over or not, he struck back at him, and Ross still finished higher than him.
Yeah, that was truly the ironic thing. While we're on this, still on the case of reactions, saw how Denny Hamlin reacted. He posted the video on Monday with the trophy and the champagne about selling them on eBay. Chase Elliott, he doesn't want the trophy. He says, I don't want the trophy. I don't feel like I truly earned it. What are kind of your thoughts on how both of them handled the situation?
Well, just like I just said, absolutely hilarious. Here's Denny Hamlin on Monday morning eating a bowl of cereal, the Pocono trophy with the eagle on it and everything right next to him, which, by the way, he has 6 other of those trophies if they come and take that one away. It's sort of like Jimmy Johnson and the grandfather clock from Martinsville. I mean, I'd hate to be midnight at the Johnson household, and if if he keeps that trophy now, then he's got one for every day of the week. And he's got the bottle of champagne, just like you mentioned. That was just hilarious. The comment about posting it on eBay and everything. And as for Chase, he's a very humble guy. At times, he can get kind of overstep his boundary a little bit. He's very strict on himself. He said, I don't know if I earned this. I don't know if I earned the trophy. I don't really want to put that trophy in my trophy case. He kind of sees it as, okay, but I still could have. He still almost beat him with that tape, whether it had a big factor or not. And that's just kind of how Chase is he finishes second and he's rough on himself. But look at, I mean, he's about ready to run away with the regular season championship because he's so tough on himself that it pays off.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is once again all the time we have today for Beyond the Headset. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Next week, we're going to be talking about sports movies. Everyone loves a good classic sports movie. We'll be talking about some of our favorites. We'll also be breaking down the NFC divisions, just like we did this week with the AFC. And we'll have another week's worth of highlights and lowlights, as well as more thoughts from your 2 favorite high school broadcasters. And we'll have much more. Last thoughts before we send it away for the week, Nate?
Another great week. Thanks for all your support in week 1. Let's let's try to do better in week 2. Let's try to always improve this.
Oh, with that being said, we'd like to thank you for once again tuning in this week, and we sure hope that you'll tune in for the next time Brant and Nate go beyond the headset.